Okay, first appointment of the welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of June 21st, 2021. Our first appointment is Fire Chief Graham Pellerin regarding the new fire station and personnel.
Good evening. Chief Graham Pellerin, so a little update on the building itself. You can see the footings going in the ground. ICF walls will be starting to be constructed next week. The cistern, 48,000 gallon cistern tank will be delivered in the middle of July. So we are moving forward right on schedule with the building schedule. Chief Briggs, who sits as our liaison for the Selectmen with the building committee, brought up last week or your last meeting about the generator oversight with our architect and electrical engineer. I just wanted to clarify that with you guys so that you guys were kept in the loop. The original cost of the generator, well, let me back up. So we spec'd the generator, told the architect, and we emailed the electrical engineer that we wanted the fire pump covered by the generator, so that whole building plus the fire pump that would service that building, this building, and the museum would be covered by the generator. That was found to be a lost email that the electrical engineer didn't see back in January when they were spec'ing the project. So they spec'd it out for a 150 kW generator and realized that we need a 250 kW generator. As you know, meeting with Paul Hatch from the state, Seabrook Station, because we're in the EPZ zone, will cover 25,000 of it, and the state will cover 50% of it. So the original cost of the 150 kW generator was $47,725. The new 250 kW generator is $81,000. Obviously a substantial increase. As I said, we'll get $25,000 from Seabrook. 50% of the remaining is $56,000. Therefore, the cost for the town, which is still in our budget, it's not an extra cost, we're not coming to you for more money, is $28,000. So much of that amount can be taken from, and FEMA may pick up more. We just have to balance the generator with other furnishings that we need for the station from Seabrook, computers, monitors, screens in the training hall, stuff like that. They'll pay for some of that as well. So I just wanted to, it obviously was an oversight and a mess up on the architect and the electrical engineers portion of the plan. I have spoke with other project managers and other people that have built buildings like this with such oversight, and they said if we attempt to go after the architect, because that was the first thing that I had said, well, who's responsible for this extra cost? And they said if we attempt to go after the architect, like sue the architect or push the envelope to a legal matter, that one, it'll majorly negatively affect our relationship with the architect, and that he's never seen anybody win that sued the architect for an oversight. So I just want to make sure that you guys were kept in the loop. And
Have you checked that with our council?
I have not.
It'd probably be worth a call to him to verify that that's the case.
I will.
His feeling on it.
So other than that, we've only had one citizen complaint, neighbor complaint about the dust, and we have taken care of that. We haven't heard anything since.
Do they mow their lawn?
That I don't. I do not know that.
No, they would have dust even from their lawn, I'm afraid. That was my
And
point.
it was months ago during height of pollen season. But
Okay. You handled it better than I would have. Thank you.
I tried. Any questions on the building or the generator, or I will, with your permission, obviously, call Sumner and
We always again, the town always has deep pockets as far as the public is concerned, and I feel like we're at a disadvantage here. Because I do agree with you, if we don't work out something with the architect, it could jeopardize the total picture, and I don't want to do that. We've got a beautiful drawing, and if everything's going well, that's great. It would, some form of concession from the architect would be appropriate. Because I understand from in a previous conversation with you that we had some blame because we didn't pick it up sooner.
Right.
So there's a little co-responsibility in there that needs to be factored in. I agree 100% that we should go with a larger generator. I guess at the library they did not do that. They went with a smaller one, and that was a mistake. And we're going to at some point have to rectify it. So I'd hate to see us be looking to put in a bigger generator in 5 or 10 years. It's going to probably cost us more than $28,000 to do so. So I just assume we do it now, number one. But I think some gesture of conciliation from the architect would be appropriate.
And I like I said, I'll talk to Sumner and see where we can go from there.
Would want bad relationship in case we need to design another fire station.
Never know.
That goes with the dusting.
The good news is this was found early in the project. We were able to avoid a 30% cancellation fee for the 150 kilowatt generator that was ordered because we're buying from the same vendor. And as you said, if we had to do this later, it would be a lot more costly.
Important thing to remember is that that generator is sized to feed this building, and also.
Oh, the larger one, without a doubt, is the way to go. There's not even a question in my mind about that. It's the what. Even had we not done that initially, and you came to me and said, okay, guys, we need to have a bigger generator for this, I would have gone along with a bigger generator no matter what. Because we got to think ahead. If we're going to want this building to last us for at least another 50 years, it supports other buildings in the town, it makes the most sense to get this bigger generator we can put in now and do it right from the beginning instead of wasting money down the road doing backtracking. So,
Rich, is that feeding also 2 5-plex as well?
Just either one out there.
In front of the station?
In front of size.
Okay. So that also gives protection for a fire duct for this plaza over here.
good to go?
Then the other thing that I wanted to bring up, well, 2 things actually. So quickly, I met with Paul Hatch today, and Chief Briggs was there for a short period of conversation. So as of right now, through FEMA, if there's a nuclear release through Seabrook Station, we have an agreement with Manchester to set up continuity of government, meaning you guys then go to Manchester, still hold Monday night meetings, register cars through Manchester, for a prolonged release that we would have to basically move out of Kingston, evacuate Kingston. They need, and I can have Chief Briggs meet with Paul Hatch and myself again to get more details and Rich. But it's really on you guys to pick a different town outside the EPZ, not Manchester, but it could be Danville, it could be Hampstead, anything west of us, that if something happens here in Kingston, you could continue the governing body in that other space. So you just have to sign an MOU with that town. I can probably get you some examples of an MOU for that.
It was Manchester, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so our evacuation point for the whole town is Manchester. We just need a longevity plan, if you will.
Is this like, did they change the thing for the school as well? You know the school has to wait for buses to come from Manchester to come to Kingston and Newton to evacuate our kids to Salem. I believe that's how it's set up right now, or was, when I last went out.
No, I'm pretty sure everybody goes to Manchester.
Everybody goes to Manchester, okay.
School buses transport our kids.
To Manchester. Yeah, but we don't have enough to do all the kids at one time. That was the other thing. We had to get buses somewhere else to come in to take them all out. And it's really, governmental nightmare is the right phrase to use for that.
All the kids will be dismissed long before we evacuate the town.
Yeah, right, well, get your lawn chairs out and put them on the lawn, because I don't want to go too far, I'm sure. Doesn't look like a disaster, but we should pick a town, so we can have a subterranean White House. I think that's funny. Okay, yes, please get us some samples,
I
that would be great, Chief.
My last thing is personnel. So in the last month, I've had 4 of my 6 per diems leave to take full-time jobs with other departments.
The raise wasn't enough to keep them on?
2%, 30 cents per hour was not enough to keep them.
All 6 of them are gone?
No, 4 out of the 6.
4 out of the 6.
Yeah. So I have put more responsibility and more nights on my call members. Some of them are stepping up and helping out. Will be. So what I don't want to do is go back to not being able to staff an ambulance. That's my job, is to keep the residents safe and be able to answer any calls that come in. So I'm not looking for more money right now, and I don't even know if throwing more money at the problem would be a fix. I'll tell you right now, the most efficient way eventually, and I said this when we went per diem, is that it was a temporary solution, right? I thought it would be 5 years. Hampstead Fire's been doing it for 10 years, and they're coming to the end of their per diem life as well. We are the lowest paid per diem department. We're at $15 an hour. Plastow's at 18, Danville's at 24, and Brentwood's at 18. We can go to McDonald's and flip burgers for $17 an hour. And again, I'm just letting you know the issue that I'm facing. I've talked to area towns that are having the same staffing issues, trying to figure out a solution for possibly the whole area as opposed for just Kingston, sharing resources, sharing personnel. But I just wanted to let you know that this is an imminent problem that we're facing.
Have you advertised, are you advertising to replace the 4 that have left?
We've had a posting up through the New Hampshire Fire Academy, Seacoast Chiefs, New Hampshire Chiefs, Facebook, all over the place. We did a listing for more call members. We've gotten 2 in the last 6 months. But again, it's going to take 8 months to a year to even get them trained to be able to do anything for us.
Is it money?
Some is money. Some is the lack of public servants. I'm sure you see it as a police chief. I'm sure Rich sees it as the highway guy. We used to have 80 people taking the state entrance exam every year, and now we're down to like 40. So
Wow, that's a big difference.
and it's not because we're building a fire station I want to fill it. It's not because of just All-American that we're already up to close to 100 calls there for the year. But when Chinburn comes in, and puts 200 residents in his apartment building and all the other condo developments and whatever, we're probably looking at having to get 4 more staff on the payroll sooner than later. So a $20 an hour employee is $100,000, with benefits, retirement. That's what that costs the town. So you're talking $400,000. We can do a SAFER grant, which is the first year, I believe, the federal government picks up the 4 employees or whatever they approve us for 100%, and then it steps down. So, they'll pay for 70%, we pay for 30%. The 3rd year we pay 40, and they pay 60, and then after 5 years, I believe we pick them up 100%. So I will be meeting with you guys again at some point to see how you would like to handle this. If what would be better to help staff the fire station be able to answer calls, whether it's going for the grant to hire 4 guys at once, or put in for a single position next year on the ballot and another position the year after that, knowing full well that if the townspeople voted down, then we're still behind the 8 ball. But again, this is just informational. Like I said, I'm still doing research and trying to come up with solutions.
Is there any interest in regionalization?
I've talked to a couple departments. I think the power struggle will be an issue. I think it would have to come from the fire chiefs as well as the selectmen to figure out if we're gonna do it 100%, meaning combining budgets, combining apparatus, response areas. I think it can be done, working it over in my head and jotting down some notes, but it's gonna take a major effort to, down south, they regionalize because they've always been regionalized, or, Kingston, North Carolina doesn't have a fire department, so they're absorbed by another town. To be able to combine and dismantle some fire departments, whole other piece.
Don't we run into an insurance issue with that though? Because you have to have a fire station within.
So the way I look at it is the same thing as Hunt Road. So people that live on Hunt Road aren't 5 miles from Central Station, but there's still a Class A pumper on Hunt Road. So it's still technically a fire station.
But if everybody's in Brentwood, for instance, or not.
Well, you can do the same thing.
Okay.
If we join with East Kingston, keep East Kingston Station not manned, but have a forestry and a Class A pumper there, and then it doesn't move their fire station at all. My guys that are sleeping at 2 a.m. Responding to a call, they can make it faster to a call in East Kingston than their call can. Once you get out of bed and use the restroom, clean the snow off your car, respond to the station, get an ambulance. So Kingston's come a long way since the call department, and as we all know, volunteerism is dead or dying. So it's tough to get call guys, and Kingston is an older community, so we're not breeding the 21-year-olds that want to run into a fire or deal with a mentally ill patient. So
What's the grant cycle timeframe? If we would apply for the grant before that would expire and the cost would be subsidized for 2 years, when would we know if we got approved for that or what we got approved for?
So it's not open now until the end of the year for the following year. So I would have to put it in September, October, and then probably wouldn't know until after the vote in March.
So we might have to do a combination, we might have to add an additional 1 or 2 full-time positions.
So I have right now my per diem budget $136,000. So you can use some of that if we got 4 full-timers to offset the additional full-timers.
And it probably wouldn't hurt to meet with a couple times and see, start exploring that option. I mean, we can't really, we're not the only ones, obviously, correct?
Right. And then, Kingston's on that cusp of, I guess my eyes needing the extra staff, but, I don't want to say not being able to afford it, but not wanting to put that much money into that solution. So that's why I went to per diem first, because that was a quarter of the money total. And I found some of that in my call salary line, but, to raise my budget $400,000 in 1 year is a big ask.
No, that won't fly. The board won't go yes.
Like I said, as I get more information and more potential solutions, I will come back and address them. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our first public comment of the evening.
Just a heads up, folks, there's 5 trees on the plains that need to come down. Take them down this week. Probably hear a lot of Facebook experts complaining about it. There's 2 dying from the ash borer. One maple's got a lot of lots of dangerous tree, 1 pine tree, and there's another one I can't remember off the top of my head. So expect the phone calls, expect the BS on Facebook, but I'm a tree warden, they're coming down.
reports.
Book committee, we were told the books were gonna ship last Friday, now we're being told tomorrow. So the books should be here end of the week, first of next week. That's all I got.
Nothing new?
Kingston Days is rolling right along. We do have a carnival coming in, Nelly's is coming back. I spoke to both fire and police chiefs about dumpsters and getting those squared away. We're gonna put them in the back of the town hall since we can't do it at the fire station. Let's see, what else? Fireworks is scheduled for Friday night with it back up on Saturday. And Dawn's gonna contact the school to make sure we get the right permits and insurance and co-pays and all that good stuff. So things are rolling right along for Kingston Days. And that's it for now. We met, the HDC did meet, but nothing, one approval, and that was it. Outstanding.
Okay. Had an inspectors meeting recently. It was mostly just going over outstanding issues. Nothing substantive with fees or permits or anything. Old business, consolidated communications assessment settlement offer. So I spoke to Summer on this. The assessor really didn't have much to offer on it, but what I did find is that consolidated or whatever they were at that time has not pulled a poll permit since 2015. So I don't see how we're in a position to accept a settlement and refund them money when we don't actually know what they installed in that time frame. So this is from 2018. This is a period of 3 years that they've been installing poles in town, changing poles out, and we don't have the idea. You know, we're supposed to be refunding them money from 2018 with an incomplete assessment.
Can't do that.
So, we have reached out to Fred Smith, our previous assessor, since he was the assessor in 2018 when this was taking place, and just seeing what his view of it was, and whether he felt this was an equitable thing. I mean, there are numerous towns who've taken it, but there's a lot of missing information. There's also the other thing that was being researched is how other towns are assessing fees for those poles. So we're still tracking that down.
Fred Smith will be here tomorrow morning at 10. He's gonna be in Danville anyway, so he's gonna stop by with the files.
Okay. Do you want to give me a call when he's here, or when he's done looking at those files, and then I can talk? So I don't know how the board wants to proceed with that. I mean, there are some legal aspects of that that Sumner and I discussed that I can present to the board, but the shorter answer is that, you know, based on the information that we have, I wouldn't feel comfortable agreeing to the settlement because they haven't been doing the paperwork that they're required to do in order for us to have an accurate assessment.
Did you all get a copy of the list that Rich did for double
Yes,
poles?
yes.
So there's a number of double poles out there that are, some of them have been there for
8-10 years.
quite a while. So, I mean, that's another issue. It's a legal issue.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's worth just sending a letter, you know, letting them know what we're trying to research here, because this kind of went on the back burner. They were discussing this. There was this special judge that was appointed to deal with this because it was such a rat's nest of crap. And, you know, now this suddenly comes out and they want a settlement immediately, which just kind of stinks to me, but
I think a letter would be appropriate, like that we're looking into, because we haven't had any permits pulled in 3 years, and there's
6
probably
years.
6 years and two sides to the equation, and we're just still doing some homework.
And maybe see what their intention is with the double poles.
And maybe they have some additional information to enlighten us. That would be appropriate. That would be helpful, I guess would be the right word.
Sure.
So let's keep the dialogue going, but not settle, take a settlement now. No.
Do you want to include the number of double poles that we have in our list of them?
yeah, I think we'll put that into the letters, just basically, so as far as I see it, there are 3, potentially 4 issues of no pole licenses since 2015, double poles, There's also a change fee. When they become a new company, they're supposed to come in and pay per pole when they do that. They never did that. It benefits 3 companies in the past 10 years. And I forgot the fourth one, but,
Yeah.
you know, at the very least, include those 3 items and anything else that Tammy has found from the other towns, and, you know, just to, again, keep the dialogue going. Since we're writing them a check, I don't think they're gonna tell us it's over and done. I don't think they're looking to go to litigation on this. I think they'll extend it out, but
No, they're probably holding their breath to see if they can get away with another one. But that's another story. Okay. To
All
be
right.
continued.
old business, Depot Road property complaints. The owner was invited to attend this meeting, chose not to. We've received nothing else.
They moved a couple of unregistered vehicles. I see they're doing more cleanup over there. I don't think we've received any more complaints from the neighbors about the dirt bikes and what have you. Even increased enforcement in that area.
So nothing's happened, they're not responding?
They were invited. An invitation was extended to discuss the matter, and they chose not to attend.
Okay. But we haven't heard any more complaints.
Not that I'm aware of, but
Okay. I guess I'm in a quandary because there was no public comment. I know there's some neighbors here, and yet the resident at Depot Road is not here, so I don't know what is expected of us at this point.
if you'd like to speak on this matter, please come forward and identify yourself.
So I know we don't have a.
Can you identify yourself, sir?
I'm Carl Oppenheim.
And your address, Carl, state your address to the record. please.
Excuse me?
Just state your address for the record.
12 Depot Road.
Thank you.
I know we don't have a code enforcement officer now, and I understand we're going to be having one in the middle of July, which is good. Would they be taking ownership of the noise ordinance going forward?
Typically, that's been handled by the police because most of the noise ordinance revolves around, or happens after 9 o'clock. So the code enforcement officer wouldn't really be on scene, whereas the police usually are.
This one doesn't.
But, I mean, I beg to differ a lot of times. In my experience on Depot Road, there's a lot of dirt bikes and motorbikes going on. It's been going on for a couple of years. Do we have now a decibel meter to measure the noise? So at this point in time, we have an ordinance that the town can't enforce. So how would we get, how would we get a dB meter? You can get an app on your phone for a quick check. You can get dB meter that's calibrated, not that expensive. I mean, I think that's one of the issues that we have.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm Sarah Oppenheimer, 12 Depot Road. I have a garden next to, it's not right on the property line, but it's on that side. When I was working in my garden, I had noise canceling headphones on, and the noise was so loud it would have been damaging to your ears, and it went on and on. There's peel outs in the winter, there's snowmobiles, coming, going, all that stuff.
So, I mean, I think that's the salient point is how will the town enforce this ordinance going forward? If we don't have a decibel meter now, could we buy one?
We have access to one because we've used it before, and we've checked.
I mean, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? You can get an app on the phone, do a quick check. It shouldn't require a lot of issues.
App on the phone would never hold up in court.
What's that?
It would never hold up in
I
court.
didn't say you should use an app on your phone to report. I say you can do a spot check,
But
you
I
can
mean,
issue a
it's
warning, and then you can come back with your calibrated meter, right? Does that seem reasonable and rational going forward? And the other thing I wanted to talk about was, I think it's Article 408 about peel outs and burnouts. I mean, Don, the only time you pulled me over was 35 years ago when I didn't have a registration on my boat trailer. I can't believe what's going on the roads today.
So I can tell you that 3 individuals from a close location are slated for court action. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's the burnouts and a lot of the loud back and forth with the trucks has been continued to go on, last week as of just several days ago. So it's still problematic. And it's not just back and forth really loud. I mean, I remember you used to be afraid of driving with a bad muffler. I mean, it doesn't seem like... Anyway, so those are the 2 issues that I was quite focused on.
Yeah, there's court action pending on 3 citations.
I think that was well, those are the 2 main things that I just wanted to discuss. I don't know if some of the other people at Depot, or maybe they had something they wanted to mention also.
Thank you. We can only go forward, right? I mean, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the best I can tell you is that, I know it's not been addressed previously, but the town is aware of it, it's on our radar, and we're monitoring the situation, so, I mean, if there are those noises going on, how can we address it?
Well, when the neighbors hear something, they should call the police department.
They-
That we should do,
Some do, some don't.
okay? But they should. You should call the police department.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to call police on my neighbors, it's not, except for these guys.
Understood. All right, so at our next meeting in 2 weeks, we'll follow, see where we're at.
See if they'll come in to talk to us. Okay.
All right, sale of town-owned land, revised plan of land received from map 4, lot 175 in packets. So SEC Associates is still working on the remaining ones.
I had a list from Kevin, I just wanted to make sure that these are the ones that, there's 5 total that you wanted to do right now. And those are the ones that were Charlie Zilch.
Right.
Did Kevin verify this?
These are the numbers that he gave.
Okay. I would say that's probably the best one to go from, because he's been dealing with this himself.
Yeah.
We also should set a date. I know we're working on these, but a deadline for next year's applications. So that, just because someone decides they want to look at that land today, we don't want to take it up all the time. It takes time to do the research and figure out exactly.
I mean, this one's an anomaly because it's the first time we made a concerted effort
Sure.
to get rid of other,
Yeah.
non-used, non-tax parcels,
Yeah.
and trying to get a system set up, I think. But I agree, there should be a schedule moving forward.
Okay. Add it to our to-do list, Susan, please. Thank you.
Is that all we needed to confirm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the ones?
Yeah, that was mainly because I already gave him these lot numbers and I just wanted to make sure I gave him everything.
Did he give a timeline on when those will be complete?
No. He asked if there was any priority and I said, we want to do them all together, so.
Right.
Tell them before Thanksgiving. I know he's busy.
Before the new wind starts and trees start.
Exactly.
Okay, new business, Saddle Up Saloon, discussion of cease and desist order, outdoor music.
I'll I'll start that by saying that at our last planning board meeting, well, actually last meeting concerning Saddle Up, one of the thought patterns was that we would release the cease and desist, let them try outdoor music, depending on what guidelines we set forward, and check it with a sound meter, an independent company, which would be charged out to the bond on Saddle Up that we're still holding, to see if they can have music outside and meet the sound ordinance. So that's basically what the planning board stands on this, is that it's a selectmen's issue to.
So the planning board had requested us to take action on this initially because there was a site plan violation, and now there's a site plan amendment going through the planning board. Wants us to decide something that's gonna be decided by the planning board in a few weeks.
Basically, that's right. And even though it sounds weird, but it is the selectmen cease and desist. So the planning board
That was
does.
initiated by the planning board.
Right, but the planning board doesn't want to say, yes, you can have music when there's a cease and desist based on what the planning board said. There's still a lot of questions about whether they can meet the sound ordinance anyway. So this is kind of a trial period because we've got Mr. Waters who says that he will kind of take charge of the type of music and everything else to keep it from being like it was before. So,
Yeah, but you got a pond in the back, that music gonna still carry over that water, I don't care what you have for decibel when the music's outside.
I think it depends on the type of music. So if they're gonna have a solo type of thing, and, versus a live band, say, a huge band.
Yeah, but even if Jason was spinning, vinyl's music, I mean, it's gonna be loud, whether you have one person or not. We're not Guilford, New Hampshire, with Meadowbrook, and I don't wanna become that. And if we allow Saddle Up to have outdoor music and have a party all the time, we're gonna have to let other restaurants, even across the street, do the same thing. And I was thinking maybe we should do a trial period, one weekend a month for 3 months, see how it goes. But it doesn't obfuscate I can see the VFW coming right next to them. And then it's gonna be the same weekend, every other weekend. We heard from a lot of residents, and it wasn't just Morning Dove Road. It was Morning Dove, it was Jericho, it was Hunt Road, it was down Newton Junction Road, it was West Shore Park, and 125. And it's all that end of town. I'm on this side of town, I didn't hear it, but I'm on this side of town. Pondview has been there for 40 plus years. And yes, there have been special activities there. And that's not to say that the folks at Saddle Up, who do a lot for the town, I know that, I understand that, and appreciate that. By the same token, if they have a special event, there's no reason they couldn't come to the select board for a special permit to hold that event. It wouldn't it could be raucous for all we know, but it would be once, it's not gonna be every weekend, or every Friday and Saturday night, or every Sunday afternoon. And as much as I love to hear Jason's music, it's not Doug Mitchell on an acoustical guitar. And that would make a difference outside versus Cream or something.
So my understanding is, this is a 30-day trial period, is what you said?
That's a
No.
yes.
No, but I mean as far as.
Oh, that's what they were saying, is to do a 30-day trial period to see if they can meet the sound ordinance.
So if they did an acoustical type of event, would that not lower the noise decibels?
I think we're putting the cart before the horse here, because here's the problem. The reason this was written in the first place was because there was a site plan violation. And it was done at the request of the planning board and due to residents' complaints because there was a site plan violation. So the site plan hasn't changed, to my knowledge. The site plan hasn't been revised. It's in the process of being revised, but it hasn't been revised yet.
That is correct.
So we would be superseding an independent board and their ruling, which would be the original site plan, by removing this.
May I address the board at your pleasure?
Just 1 second, I just want to address this with the board and then we're glad to hear from you. I think that's the key issue in this. We can have different theories and how it should run and everything like that, but at the heart of it, we're doing something that the planning board is in the process of doing, and this was initiated with the planning board's request.
Plus, kudos to the Settle Up folks, because so much has been addressed to update the site plan, update the facility, deal with all kinds of issues with the building itself. I know the dock has still not been resolved, but I believe we'll be waiting, the planning board's waiting to hear back from DES. So all that has pretty much been cleared up satisfactorily, no question. And I'm not sure that would have happened if this hadn't happened. Just being upfront with you, just saying. If it had been up to me, I would have pulled a liquor license, because money talks, and that would have had you responding to us in a more timely manner. That didn't happen. You know, this has been going on since last summer, technically.
I would like to say that COVID, although we like to blame the world for COVID, but that really does, it does interfere with the process of us trying to do things. So not that I want to use COVID eternally, but I think it's going to be a good excuse for at least another year.
It worked last summer for you, didn't it?
Right, I'm thinking.
Just saying, just saying.
Am I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think that.
Introduce yourself first.
Oh, I apologize. Robert Waters, Berkshire Dominion, for Saddle Up, so Berkshire property. I think that we're here because of a number of reasons, and I think that there is still some degree of confusion about what the existing site plan permits or doesn't. I know that there is clarity from the board's standpoint, but certainly not clarity from our standpoint. And what we're trying to do is we are trying to honor the existing site plan, and we're also trying to modify the existing site plan to remove some confusion or to clear up what the existing site plan allows. And what I'm referring to specifically is the prior use allowance on the existing site plan. And there was a high degree of questions as to what exactly that prior use was. So Mr. Wilson, I thought, came up with a good idea at the last planning board meeting, because I feel that there is a misunderstanding within the community about what it is that Saddle Up is trying to do. And unfortunately, Saddle Up had an outside entertainment last year, which I think sparked a lot of things. And I regret that it happened, but it did. And I'm fearful that the local community is confusing what they're trying to do with that incident last year. And I am trying to operate within the boundaries that the town has provided, within the ordinances. So upon Mr. Wilson's suggestion, we want to operate a business and we want to follow the rules and follow the ordinances that are in place. And one of the applicable ordinances is the sound ordinance. And the sound ordinance is in play for a reason. And it's there, it was determined that there's a certain level of noise that is going to be acceptable at certain hours and certain level of noise that isn't acceptable at certain hours. We want the opportunity to try to fall within that sound ordinance. If we can't, then we can't. But we feel as though we can. And there are a number of things that we can look at. We are looking at perhaps modifying the building to allow for inside entertainment that has exposure to outside. And by doing so, we would eliminate a lot of the sound that is traveling across the water. I can certainly appreciate a majority of the concerns came from Morning Dove Drive. I realize that there were other concerns in other areas, and there were also a number of people that didn't have a concern in other areas. So I don't want to focus on Morning Dove, but certainly a lot of the issues came from that road.
I would say that they were probably more articulate and more organized than the other neighborhoods.
Very well. So, and as we know, those that are more articulate and more organized, well, they get the stage. So what we want to do is try to be afforded the opportunity to operate within the current sound limits. That's really it. We're not asking for anything more than that. If we feel as though we want to operate outside of the existing sound ordinance, then we would apply for a special permit from the selectmen if we were going to ask for an excuse for that particular moment. But I think that we will be able to do that if given the opportunity. Let us clear up that last summer incident. That I think that is what a lot of the town, I think, is focusing on. That we are trying to have outdoor Aerosmith concerts, 5 nights a week until midnight. That isn't what's happening. What we want to do is just provide entertainment for those people that are sitting outside. That's really it, without disrupting all of those people that are around us. So Mr. Wilson came up with the idea that, give it a shot, let's try it. And then, as I had said, we are looking at modifying the building to not even require outside entertainment, perhaps, and simply have inside entertainment that has exposure to the outside. And that might accomplish the same thing while eliminating the noise traveling across Kingston. Because quite honestly, it doesn't do us any good to have the noise travel anywhere beyond our property line, right? We don't want that either. If we could control it, it is of no benefit to us. So for us to be able to provide the entertainment and to limit it to the boundaries of our property is exactly what we want to do, and we're just asking for the opportunity to allow us to engineer it something as such.
But you're basing that on the premise that outdoor music has always been allowed there, and that's not saying it hasn't happened illegally. There's a lot of things in this town that have gone on unmonitored, unsupervised, unapproved. This is a whole ball game of sheriffs in town. This board is really trying very hard to bring people into compliance. We don't want to be the bad guys. We want Saddle Up to do a heck of a job, and they do. You go by there, gazillion cars, gazillion motorcycles. It's awesome. That means Bobby's making money. It's a beautiful thing. Everybody's happy. But when it's rocking and rolling, then and you feel like you're at Meadowbrook, this is not good. We used to have, now you probably weren't around then, back in the days when we had the fairgrounds, there was concerts down there. We had Willie Nelson come into town, we had Ringo Starr come into town. That place was rocking and rolling, and that was out in the boondocks at the end of town, and there were still some issues. Still there were issues. Now, if we say yes to you guys, even for 30 days, you don't have a good track record of following up, number one. And number two, we're going to have the guys across the street, which are having a neighbor wars. I mean, there's signs going. Am I right on that? Have I missed something there? I thought there was a problem between the VFW and Satellite. I hope not, but that's what I'm hearing.
So I think there's two things. There's a difference. So we didn't get as much noise because the building was blocking them. So what they're getting is they're getting echoing across the pond. So that's why he's trying to...
And that's a big piece of it. There's no question about it. But still, but if you remember some of the complaints, it was the noise from the motorcycles, noise from the trucks. I mean, it's a fun place to go. I'm not denying that at all. I get that, and I like that. But the same token, the community doesn't like it.
But let me say, and I just have to bring up, like, the noise from the motorcycles, the cars or whatnot. And
That's going to be there.
Right, but I even heard the last conversation. If there was anybody, if I was put on this earth again, it would be to monitor the decibel levels of vehicles and motorcycles. I can't tell you how. I feel like I have shell shock from some issue every time. I don't understand the need for it. I can't stand it. And I am as anti as anybody with loud motorcycles, loud vehicles, but those are things that are outside of our control.
You mean you weren't 18 one time?
I guess I was being soft of hearing, and I would employ upon the Department of Transportation or the state police to start cracking down on any vehicles that, there is a inspection requirement that has levels, and how this is happening is really beyond me, and it frustrates me more than anything. The noise of the vehicles and the motorcycles. So we're definitely on the same page there, but I can also say that we can't control that. That is something, if vehicles are obnoxiously loud, they are violating the laws in and of themselves, and we can't police that. Obviously, what we can police is the establishment and the environment that we put out there. And we certainly can't say, you know, hey, listen, if the decibel level in your vehicle is too high, then you can't leave here, or you can only leave here at 2,000 RPM. Although I appreciate those noises, whether we're there or not, these loud noises are going to be there. So I'm asking the towns, let us work together to, I understand that there has been a spotty history of following the rules, but I also ask the town to please understand that there was a degree of confusion, ambiguity in the existing site plan. So I'm not going to claim that as a defense or an excuse, just a reason.
And that's why I said to you, I know there have been outdoor music on occasion at that site. It's not been legal though. It's not been legal. That doesn't make it, the two wrongs don't make it right. We're not, just because it happened before, it's not part of the site plan, it was not an approved use, go for, except in a special circumstance. And that you have the opportunity to do that also.
But in all fairness, whatever was, you know, we're talking about, you know, illegal activities or whatnot, the pond view was there. Anybody that owned a home around the pond view certainly was subject to any of the activities. It was a very popular place that was jammed quite frequently. And, you know, the homes around there, that was there for a very long time. It wasn't like this business just went in and disrupted the community. It was, the community, in essence, was built around that restaurant. But again,
we used to have buses, now we have motorcycles.
you go in there. Listen, and I agree. And I don't think there's any need or any desire to amplify any sort of sore issues that are already out there.
Right.
So, you know, whether or not the past activities were permitted or not permitted, it was so back then, it was very lackadaisical. There was no site plan on the property. I mean, probably in retrospect, we should have just went in there. We weren't required to get a site plan. We should have just went in there and opened and gone on our merry way. But we went and we got a site plan, and that has exposed us to tremendous costs in order to really try to satisfy what the town is trying to do. Because you're not trying, I get it, you're not trying to chastise a saddle up. You're not trying to do it. You're trying to have all of the businesses comply in a manner that is good for the community, the town, and the patrons. I understand that. So all I'm asking is just give us a chance to work together with you on that so that we can actually have an environment. And if we're not violating the sound ordinance, or if the VFW isn't violating the sound ordinance and they're not causing problems, we promote, you know, we're not trying to be the only people that are allowed to do something. We're trying to do something in a manner that doesn't disrupt the community. And if the VFW, for example, is able to provide entertainment that doesn't disrupt the community, well, I think we'd all agree then more power to anybody that can do it. But we first have to maybe think outside of the box about how we can do that. And I'm saying, please, and it's not like, you know, I think it's obvious, we do spend the time, the money, in the effort to really bring this site in, as opposed to people that, you know, don't show up to the meetings or, you know, are not, I think Charlie can probably retire on us now for the amount of money that we're spending on engineering and surveying and all of the engineers, and there's a lot of money we're spending in a sincere attempt to bring this so that we're all on the same page, and then we move on. And I would like to ask the board to at least appreciate that we're not sidestepping anything, we're addressing it all.
Today, the last couple of months, you've done a tremendous job, and I said that earlier in my comments, because you have addressed almost everything we had talked about and needed to have come into compliance. The upstairs rooms, the overhead music area. You've done a terrific job, the parking lot, all that. I think it's terrific. And you have spent some money doing it, and that is terrific, but you're bringing the property into compliance. This is the last nut, other than the floating dock. This is the last nut. And if we trust you to do what you say, and you don't do it, then what?
Well, I'm asking, now again, I'm recently involved, I'm more recently involved in as far as being vigilant on making sure that the rules are followed. So I'm asking, please give me a chance to do what I say. Now again, I can't control what other people have said and what other people have done. All I can control is what I say and what I do. And I know that...
Look, I agree with that. You guys have rectified a lot of the previous issues that we've had, and thank you for doing that.
I think we're down to 3 issues there.
But what it comes back to...
Music and
The floating bar.
And the floating bar obviously is in the hands of the state, kind of.
Yeah.
Like to get the
But again, all of those issues are planning board issues.
Right.
And so basically, it's not just the sound ordinance that you're asking us to allow you to be in compliance with. It's also to be in violation of your existing site plan.
Isn't that arguable though, in the sense, and I don't mean arguable that you guys are wrong, I mean arguable in the sense that where the existing site plan does allow for some sort of outside activity. I don't think we can deny that. Now, whether that means once a millennia or every night, I think that's where the ambiguity comes in.
And I don't think it's up to this board to resolve that ambiguity though. It's up to the planning board.
Okay, and that's something, again, that goes out of my pay grade, but how do we address, I guess the question would be is how do we address this? Obviously, I can't get in the middle of the planning board of the selectmen, but my job is to really try to carry forward in bringing the site into compliance while still being able to operate a successful business. So in this particular case, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the cease and desist is really surrounded by a sound ordinance violation, if I'm not mistaken. If I read, and I did.
No, because in your original site plan, and I don't have the documents in front of me, but there were numerous people who attended the original site plan reviews who were abutters, neighbors, who had expressed concern that there would be outdoor music. And repeatedly, they were assured that there would not be outdoor music in that site plan, in the minutes of the site plan. I can think of 3 people specifically who spoke at those meetings and requested, were asking about outdoor music.
Okay,
Because this had to be researched before we sent this out.
I wasn't at those meetings. I don't think I was there.
I wasn't either. I was just reading the minutes, and so when we crafted this is stuff that we researched, looking at that and how it was all came into be, because it was claimed that there was ambiguity in there. And going through the site plan, reading those minutes, I did not see any ambiguity. It was repeatedly assured to those people that there would not be outdoor music.
Well, no, and again, I wasn't there, so I don't know, and they said you weren't there, and I didn't read them. But when I look at, I'm charged with looking at the site plan is what I'm operating off of. If you're saying there's extraneous information that either clarifies any ambiguities or whatnot, I don't have that information, so I can't comment on that.
But what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to get into the weeds on it of what they discussed 7 years ago, whenever this was approved. The point was that we were approached by the planning board because we were the enforcement arm of the town, and it was requested that we do something to stop the outdoor music based on resident complaints and the violation of the site plan. So I don't see how, as the select board, we can tell you to go forth and violate the site plan as it currently says.
Wait, I think you're saying the same thing, kind of in a different way. I think what they're asking for is a 30-day probation period to try out more music. Now, Glenn Koppelman made it clear in the planning board meeting that just because we give them that permission doesn't mean the planning board will approve outdoor music. But I think their current site plan is they're trying to solve these issues. They're trying to solve
This
the
isn't really the forum for that. That's what the planning board is.
That is
all
correct.
site plan issues.
That is
planning.
correct, but we were just going round and round at the planning board about outdoor music, and the probation period seemed like a good way to see if they can meet the sound ordinance, if they can be satisfied.
Okay, so what I hear you saying, Rich, is that you're suggesting that the Board of Selectmen suspend its cease and desist order for 30 days
For the outdoor music.
for outdoor music only? Okay.
And I'm
It
gonna
came
add to
into-
that,
It came into being because of the executive order from the governor that allowed outdoor dining and outdoor music. Am I correct on that? Yes.
there's a big argument about what was
The
done
level of
before.
noise notwithstanding, that's how it came about. Well,
Right.
that order is now gone. So now we're back to the original site plan, and we have a cease and desist that in effect says to saddle up, folks, no outdoor music.
Right,
The floating bar was an issue, and the outdoor music were the two
and
things.
seating,
Outside seating.
and the capacity hits, yeah.
That-
Which
that's a planning board.
they're going through the process to try to
Correct.
get all of that changed, and doing it the right way, even though they may be 2 years late doing it, they're doing it.
Okay, so,
So what I was presenting is to do a motion to grant them 30 days outdoor music till 9 o'clock on the grounds that we hire a private company to do a sound check at the charge of Saddle Up's bond to be pulled against that they have in place. so we can see if they can meet the sound ordinance, if we can see what type of music. Because I agree with, you can't, well, you can, but you shouldn't penalize somebody over what they've done forever. And that's what,
I don't want to penalize them forever. I just want to know that if it doesn't work, will they stop? Or do we go through all this?
well, I mean, we always run the risk that, okay, we'll hire one guy with a guitar for 30 days that meets it, and then as soon as we grant them outdoor music, they put the Rolling Stones there.
Exactly.
There's always that possibility.
Again, I would counter that it is not our authority to grant them the right for outdoor music. That is in the site plan. It is specifically prohibited in the site plan, and it is not our authority to give people a pass on their site plan.
If I could interject though, but I don't think the site plan does specifically prohibit outside music. I think maybe that's where some confusion comes in. I think that what the board
It
is being
doesn't
asked.
permit it nor prohibit it. I think you get it. I
Okay,
believe-
but well, even at that, but I think that, again, maybe I'm not hearing it correctly, but I think that what is being asked is that you suspend the enforcement. So I would think, again, you know your role obviously better than anybody, but I would think that it would be under the selectmen's authority or ability to suspend the cease and desist for 30 days. I think that's what's being asked of the select
Yes.
board. I would think, again,
It
absent
is
any,
within our purview. You are absolutely correct.
Yeah, no decision is being made by this board about future outdoor music. I mean, Glenn Koppelman made that clear as chairman that it's still a planning board issue. But everybody's going back and forth about what they used to do, what they're gonna do, and I mean, this seemed like a way to somewhat bring it to an end. If they can't meet the ordinance, then it's a non-issue.
because again, all of those things, I would agree, those are all planning board issues. Or anything to do with whether we're allowed to do something or not, or whatever, it's all planning board issues. And I think Mr. Wilson agrees with that. Simply, the board is just asked whether or not they will suspend the cease and desist, because without the cease and desist, I guess in theory, we could do something. We could have outside music, and then the town would issue a cease and desist.
No, you couldn't have outdoor music until you got approval from this.
No, but I'm saying if we did, then the select board would issue a cease and desist, right, as you did. So we're just asking, can you suspend that for 30 days? And obviously, and then that's all the select board is being asked. And then with the planning board, then we go to the planning board and we're saying, look, this is what we did for 30 days. And then obviously the planning board would want to make sure that we don't make representations that aren't accurate, meaning, like you said, that we put a guitar out there for 30 days and said it's fine, and then put Aerosmith out there. But we would want to, in good faith, represent to the town that what we did in the past 30 days is what we are looking to do going forward. And that's something that we can discuss with the planning board once we get to that point, but we can't get to that point unless the Board of Selectmen agree to suspend the cease and desist.
When's your next planning board hearing?
30 days.
30
No,
days.
no, it's not 3 days
I
from today.
thought it was 30 days.
It's July 20th.
July 20th.
Right.
No, today's
Does that
June
sound
20th.
right?
It is about 30 days.
Peter, does that sound right? Isn't it the 20th?
That's 29 days.
Yeah.
Close enough for us to
They won't
go.
have entertainment on Tuesday night.
So you give us enough rope to hang ourselves.
I mean, Phil, I see your point.
I'm more than happy to do that.
But
See, we all are.
Have a side bet going.
how I look at this is if we don't give them a trial period, and the planning board makes a decision either way, say they say yes, then we're gonna be right back where we are if it's loud music. We're gonna be back issuing a cease and desist if they don't meet the sound ordinance. If they say no, then we're probably gonna end up in court. So this is a way to kind of mix both those together and get a trial period so we can come to a resolution. I mean, that's my stand. If no one wants to support me, that's another issue, but that's how I look at it.
I would agree with you that you've got to have that trial period or
Something to base your
Well,
decision on.
well, I just read back through this again, that the planning board wants some kind of a trial period. And then, I guess you're gonna go back and report to them how it went.
Or the independent sound person's gonna report to them.
Or all the neighbors, although if we get complaints, we're gonna direct them to Glenn Koppelman and the planning board.
Remember whose phone rings when there's a lot of loud noise?
It's gonna go to the police department, and if they can't meet sound ordinance, they're gonna be shut down.
I tell you. Get a big parking lot over there at Larry's Clam Bar, you know.
Work on that next. Town of Plastow said no, they said go to Kingston, keep the music there.
Yeah, see what happens there, and then we'll see what we can do.
So bring this to an end, I'm gonna make a motion, if it gets any backing or whatever, but I'm gonna make a motion. We give them a 30-day trial period to have entertainment outside. We're going to hire an independent sound company at the expense of Saddle Up's bond, at their expense, to give us a decision on whether they can meet the sound ordinance. Music will be allowed Friday and Saturday night till 9 o'clock and Sunday to 7, I think is what you asked for.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second, further discussion.
I'm gonna vote yes to give you that rope, but you're gonna hear a lot from me if you screw up. I'm just kidding. You don't know how long.
You know who's gonna be on the floating dock and who isn't?
Okay, thank you for supporting that.
All right.
So what is the scoop on the
We
floating
need
dock?
to have a vote taken now.
Don't even go there, Paul.
No, we don't need a roll call anymore. But you can have it, you can have it anytime you want.
I mean, you should have it too.
No, I don't want it.
Okay, roll call
Roll
vote,
call.
please.
Alessio,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Coombs,
No.
and Wilson.
Yes.
Think that means I can do that? Does that mean that?
Meets and passes.
It passes with a 30-day suspension of the cease and desist.
But I realize.
29.
But I realize that I have a lot to answer to with you.
So when you see a cruiser pull up, I'll be driving, she'll be the shotgun.
I'll be there Thursday, the senior luncheon. I'm
That's
gonna check it out.
Peter had his hand up. Okay.
All set?
All set? All right, good.
Right? Good luck. Do
Thank
it
you,
right.
guys.
Okay, timber sale management contract for Acorn Forest.
There'll be, there will be, we got 2 items being, and then there's another section.
Are you finding it?
What's that?
You got it?
Yeah.
Timber.
So we're signing as the owner.
Yes.
Okay, can I get a motion from the board to authorize me to sign the timber harvesting contract for Acorn Town Forest.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All in favor?
I don't know why they just didn't stay in if they had comments. Anyways, all right, so it passes.
Just while we're on that subject, there's a tremendous amount of money in that line item that the Conservation Committee believes they can only spend for that forest management. I think we ought to do some research into that and see if, what the details on how it can be spent are legally. I think there's
Be all right.
60,000 or something in there. There's a lot of money in there.
You really want to give that to them?
No.
No, I don't want to give it to them.
Wouldn't that be
That's
sitting
my
on
point, it's sitting there doing nothing, and maybe we need to use it for something else, but there's
Yeah, I think
pretty
there's
strict
a review of
guidelines.
that.
We need to know what we can use it
What
for,
we can use it
basically,
for.
right?
I thought that was voted as a warrant article.
No.
That's what we need to know how it's set up and what it can be used as.
Well, I thought additional funds that were left over at the end of the year, isn't that where that money went? I thought 2 years ago, wasn't that?
No, that was the pond cleaning, the milfoil stuff. That's
Power
what
pond,
it's
is that power pond?
I thought there was a warrant article that was written for monies that were left over for, tree harvesting, what have you, that goes back into their account.
That's what it is, it stays in their account.
But there are stipulations within that account on what it can be
What
used
it
for.
can be used for,
Yes.
that's what I wanna check into.
Yes.
Okay. Board business, order more boat launch keys.
Tammy just wanted to know what you thought about that. They already upped the number this year. I think she said she has 3 of them left. She wanted to know if she should order more or just say no.
Big one.
So that's a catch-22. Tammy, I believe, has ordered 200 keys.
Yeah, 200, yeah.
175 were sold. You ordered more stickers, right? Decals.
Yeah, the keys, she's already ordered another, was it 50 or 25?
Yeah, so it's just, we're gonna have to take a good look at it because parking has become problematic as a result of nice days and,
It was packed yesterday.
I think the whole point in having the key system was that the people who took advantage of it would use that part of the town. I mean,
yep.
if you didn't plan before June 15th to get a key for the boat launch, then sorry.
Because if you, most of it's on weekends, and so if you've got, say, 175 people that bought keys, you certainly don't have 175 parking places.
And, I mean, this came up last year where someone was on Facebook asking if someone had a key they could copy. I mean, it's,
So just something we need to.
Well, she's already been through 200. She ordered 200 in March, which is only
Yeah,
got
so
two left.
about 25, so they go to fire, police, and marine patrol, and fish and game. That's who they, about 25 go out every
Okay,
year.
so that's 175. So what's another 250? I mean, at this point, we'll see. I mean, we haven't really had a parking problem, have we? Because they park across the street.
Pretty bad on the weekend.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty full. I agree with that.
this isn't zoning, you can't just say yes, we'll allow more.
You know, you should never have let me talk to someone because he taught me a good lesson. So who represents the Board of Selectmen when someone comes before you? And I say, nobody. So there.
You pointed this out to me previously, I've been there on 2 occasions representing the Board of Selectmen.
In the last 15 years.
While we're talking about parking, I talked about eliminating the gravel spot across State Park a month or so ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I've got a plan now that I'll draw out on of the planes, but I'm gonna spray paint some dots on the road across from State Park that everybody can look at before the next meeting. That's how we wanna put the parking spots in. They'll be 20 feet long. Rich and I were thinking about 8 spots, which would represent what's more than what's in the gravel area now.
So they're gonna be parallel to Main Street?
Parallel to Main Street. He's gonna pave an area for it, so it'll be good for road cleanup, and then in the fall, he's gonna dirt the gravel area and eliminate it.
So they'll be parking both sides.
So anyway, I'll put the spray paint on. It's kind of a lime green, John Deere green color that you can spot outside of the state gate. They're starting right before the state park gate coming from the south and then going up 8 spots.
All right, so do we approve another 25 keys or what are we gonna do?
Let's say do 50.
All right. I move that we buy 50 more, authorize Tammy to buy 50 more keys for the boat launch dock area.
And her question, I think her second part of the question was, where do you want the cost to come from? I don't think she has any more money in that budget,
Do they not pay for the keys when they buy them?
but it goes to the general fund as revenue, I believe.
I have no idea where the money goes. It's $1 a key. What do we charge? Costs us $1.
So charge $2 for a late key fee.
Okay, I'm good with that. So it covers itself.
Yeah, let it
Well-
overrun our budget by $25 on the key line. So what you got, 25 or 50?
Good.
Say 50.
Then overrun $50. We know it's being compensated for it twice.
If she's charging $2, then we're getting back the money anyways, $100. Okay, then.
All right, motion and second for 50 keys. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm opposed.
There is no public.
Public comment? Don't see anyone.
What about, wait a minute, you're still in a new business?
No, I'm under decision,
Board
business.
business, now we're into correspondence.
Board business, I got a couple more things.
Okay.
Well, one's, I just wanted to announce that they have contacted us, Cornmeals, about blasting Wednesday between 11 and 2, right, Susan?
Yes.
She's sending out the message and putting it on the site just so people are notified. The other thing is that the camp contacted me about mask procedure, and I told him to basically do what he felt comfortable with, that the order has been rescinded. So if he wants to require mask indoors, tight orders, he can, and go from there.
This is that recreation.
Because,
camp.
yeah, for our day camp, because they are part of the highest risk group. And then I have 2 issues in the non-public.
Okay. Any other board business? Okay, public comment, seeing none. Correspondence, the facilities use application for town hall.
Well, you know what? That Kingston History Book Party is on July 15th, and the Kingston Days Committee is here that night.
Kingston Days Committee has already said they'll do something
I know,
different.
I was there, and I was saying, only if it's raining and they can't meet outside. We'll give up the space at the town hall to go down to the rec center. That's what it is. I mean, they, why they picked that night, I don't know.
Can we make this 5 people on this facilities use application for the select board? Still 3.
Oh, is that, yeah, they've gotten a little fine.
I will sign it, but unless anybody has, well, Ellie, you don't have to sign
I
it.
don't have to sign it.
There's room for you to not sign.
It's good.
Don't sign on that.
What's that?
The dog warrant.
No.
I'm on it.
Joe, you gotta get that vaccine, for Christ's sake. Oh my God. Allocated stuff.
All right. Did everybody see the email from the Jericho Drive resident?
Yes.
During the sediment in their well? I noticed they had CC'd the DES extensively on that. Wouldn't that be the governing body for that? So really, it was just for informational purposes for us. What is it? Sediment in their well? From last time. So they claim.
Why they haven't CC'd a lawyer yet is beyond me, but that's another story.
So, yeah, I think that would be DES.
So this. So just one thing, I had spoken to Ellen, and maybe this should have been on your committee reports, but I'm just seeing it now, so I didn't think we'd have it this quick. But one of the problems we're running into is when the planning board assigns conditions of approval to a site plan or anything, we don't typically get them to the inspectors or to the health officer, or it's in the minutes, but it's not prominently. So there's, you know, for example, the warehouse had 36 conditions of approval, and there was another development, I don't think it needs to be brought up here, but they had a condition that they had to meet, they did not meet it, and now we're gonna be playing catch up, trying to get them to meet it. Now that we've lost all leverage of an occupancy permit and all that, it's just gonna make it harder for us. It'll still get done, but it's just adding steps to us. So what Ellen and I had discussed was, basically her generating the condition of approval list that was sent to Robert, and it would be covered in the inspectors meeting, because the inspectors are our eyes and ears. And so this is just something that she had, gotten together for some of the recent, applications. So, I guess my first question is the board in favor of that?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I think that gives our guys the information they need to do their job accurately. It's not a, well, who's in the minutes?
Robert and I talked about it today, we're gonna come up with a place to post all of them. So
Inside the
the
hole.
inspector can come in, look at them, see if there's any outstanding issues
Yeah.
with the site.
And that's the other side of it is if it's in the folder and then we discuss it in a meeting as we're, doing COOs and that kind of thing, it can really cut down on a lot of this stuff, so. Okay, I just wanted to make the board aware that that was taking place, so we're gonna push forward on that. And, the go forward portal, are you tied into that, Susan?
Yeah, I can,
You were a point person on that before.
yeah, I haven't
Local grants.
gone in, the application process.
That's a significant grant to go for grant.
It's a lot of money, it's whether, we have things that are,
The qualified.
eligible.
So maybe you could send to each department what the categories are and what the requirements are.
And I think that'd also be a good thing to cover in our department head meeting. It's just,
Next week.
Well, there's a time cutoff. When is that, in July?
And I'll have to look again, it's
It's
the end
within,
of July, I think.
yeah, it's the middle, or I thought it was in the middle of July, maybe.
Our meeting's Monday, so we should be able to cover it.
Yeah.
Must be completed and submitted by Wednesday, August 18th.
August, okay.
Okay, so next Monday, that should be on the agenda for next week.
that's not public. Take a motion on the minutes.
So moved,
Second.
Okay.
both public and non-public.
All those in favor?
Yep.
I will abstain, those not present. And motion to go into non-public session.
Under RSA, whatever is appropriate.
91-A, semicolon 3, comma 2, should be personnel, and then I would add a legal discussion on there as well.
Yep.
Aforementioned in our previous discussion as a, I'll confer to the board what I spoke with council about.
Okay.
That will conclude the televised portion of this evening's meeting. Thank you very much for joining us.
Adam's gonna text back when we're off the air.